Hey everyone, this is Isaac
And this is Jackie.
from Nonessential Media, and you are listening to the Beach City CROWS podcast. This podcast is all about our favorite cartoons, mine being Steven Universe.
And mine being Haikyuu.
Just a warning, this episode will feature spoilers for Steven Universe through Season 3.
And spoilers for Haikyuu through Season 2, Episode 20.
Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Beach City CROWS podcast where we talk about some of our favorite shows. My name is Jackie and I've been watching Steven Universe.
My name is Isaac, and I have been watching Haikyuu.
And at this point, we are getting close to, well for you, almost the end of Haikyuu actually.
Oh my god.
Getting there.
Crazy.
There. Craziness. And then I am well into Season 3 at this point. So, moving right along in that show as well. What show do we want to talk about first?
Let's talk about Steven.
We want to talk about Steven Universe first?
Steven Universe.
Steven. Steven and its ebbs and flows continues. So the first episode that I watched in this batch was Barnmates. Which I kind of knew going into this because as I talked about before, okay, Peridot's part of the team, get it. Now Peridot has to learn to assemble with the team, but they didn't just add Peridot, they also added Lapis.
Yeah.
Yeah, and these two don't get along. Lapis, she's like, I've said it multiple times, she's like the embodiment of trauma. Yeah. And she really just does not want to be friends with Peridot at all. And I kind of get it, like, considering what she just went through, like, it's not like, you know, I imagine that she kind of sees it as, like, Peridot's still the quote-unquote bad guys.
And you have this, like, angry Dorito chip.
Literally Dorito chip. All I can see every time I see her is a tortilla chip, and I just want to eat nachos. But the huge thing with this is Peridot is trying so hard to prove that she's changed.
Oh my god.
And the thing is, if you have to prove that you've changed, and you can tell it's frustrating for her that Lapis isn't just accepting this, and I think it kind of goes to show you, especially if you don't know someone really well, once you hurt someone, whether you realize you've hurt them or not, you don't get to decide that they're over it. And yeah. Peridot wants to decide that Lapis should be over it.
Yeah. And
Lapis, understandably, is still kind of wrestling with a lot of the different emotions that she's going through. And Peridot is just getting frustrated, not understanding why. Like, Peridot, of course, as everyone does, they don't see themselves in the wrong. And Peridot, especially now that Peridot has gone against Yellow Diamond, is more or less like, how do you not see I'm the good guy? I went up against a diamond. Well, congratulations.
Yeah,
you know,
they're trying to kill you too now.
And that actually is the most important thing out of here is that this robot ship thing shows up and it starts scanning at the end of the episode. And scans Peridot, and Peridot's freaking out after spending the last 10 minutes 10 minutes in our time. This is more than 10 minutes in the show. Pretty much a whole episode trying to convince Lapis that she's not evil anymore, or whatever, has changed, has become part of the crystal gems. You're thinking that, you know, Peridot's freaking out, like, oh no, they're here to get me, and Lapis actually comes to Peridot's rescue and destroys the ship. Well, it doesn't really destroy the ship, but shoots it down. And that was kind of the first moment where you're like, okay, these two. And Lapis asks, you know, are you okay? And all this stuff. And I think it's because Lapis has been through all that she's been through that she's able to kind of empathize a little easier than some of the other people might. But that was... Though, and then, of course, it pops open. At the very end of the episode, it ends on a cliffhanger, and a ruby comes out. And you're like, oh, no.
The cringe rubies.
They're so dumb. They're so stupid. Oh my god. And that's all that... I want to say, like, the next episode is called Hit the Diamond. And pretty much a bunch of rubies, 5 rubies come out of this ship. And everyone runs because they're like, oh no, you know, we can't have them see that we're here. So Garnet decides, well, I'll just unfuse and we'll send our ruby to go to them. And they're all kind of standing on top of one of them standing on top of the ship, and then Ruby shows up, and it's so hard to say because there's so many rubies, but our Ruby shows up and joins this lineup of rubies, and the one on top is like, wait, there's something wrong here. There's supposed to be 5 of us, and starts counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then laughs and is like, never mind, and it's like, you didn't count yourself. You're so stupid. You're so dumb. But pretty much, of course, everyone's hiding out in the barn, and so our Ruby goes to the barn and is like, oh yeah, it's empty. And they're like, we better double check after what happened last time. And our Ruby's like, what happened last time? And they're like, oh, Ruby, you're so silly. And it's like, no, how do you not know? Like, how stupid. But they bring Steven out to say there's only one human, and they disguise everyone besides Peridot, of course, because everyone's convinced that these rubies are looking for Peridot, as human beings. And the names were like Pearl was Earl, and Lapis was Bob. And Lapis did not want to be there.
She did not like it.
She wanted to be literally anywhere else at that point. But they play baseball, which is fun. I like baseball. And,
understatement?
Yeah, big understatement. I friggin' love baseball. But the best part about this episode is that it was just really funny. I think that was a huge thing. Just the tone of these, like, kind of five stooges that are the rubies, and it was still kind of about the plot. It wasn't like a Beach City episode, you know. It felt, you know, it just kind of felt like it was a nice break.
Like a wholesome...
Yeah, it was very wholesome, yeah. But of course, our Sapphire, there's only one, but Sapphire and our Ruby can't help but flirt. And after Sapphire hits a walk-off home run, they end up fusing. And so the 5 dumb rubies decide to fuse. And at this point, Peridot comes out and is like, no, I'm the one you're looking for. And they're like, no, we're looking for Jasper. And they're like, oh, we totally know where Jasper is. No, you don't. Like, Jasper fell into the abyss a couple episodes ago. They tell them that Jasper's on Neptune. And they're like, cool, let's go. And so they go to Neptune. And the best part is, I think it was Amethyst. The last line in the whole episode is, man, rubies are dumb. Like, that's how I'm feeling this whole episode. So one crisis has been averted. The next episode was Steven Floats, which at first I wasn't sure if this was actually a power or if it was like he was dreaming or something, because sometimes these episodes are so weird and bizarre that I don't actually know until it's over. But it's pretty much Steven wants Sadie's fresh donut. I don't know why I wrote it that way on my notes. Please kill me. Sadie's like, yeah, we're making fresh donuts. Come by and get one in the morning. And he's like, okay, because he's been gone on a mission that we didn't get to see any episodes for because showing us a baseball game was more important than that mission.
True.
But Steven, he jumps / floats. He does a little jump float, not to be confused with the jump float that Tadashi does.
Like, yeah.
He is way up into the sky, and he's slowing he's falling very, very slowly, and he wants to get down in time to get that donut is what he really wants. But it's pretty funny because, like, Amethyst walks out and is looking for him, and he, like, throws his shoes at her to get her attention. And then she goes to get help, and she gets Pearl and Garnet, of course, and Pearl's just, like, freaking out, being her helicopter mom Pearl.
Activated again.
And then Garnet, who is still the funniest, best character in the entire show, just goes, you hear, she's like, we need to get a phone. And then you hear the sound of glass breaking and a car alarm going off. She has a phone in her hand. And they're like, where'd you get that phone? She's like, or whose phone is that? I think is what they said. And she's like, not important. And then calls Steven so they can have a conversation with him. And they try all these different things. I mean, pretty much it's interesting because, like, I don't know. At this point, the way Steven develops his powers has not really been talked about. Like, I remember way back in the very first episode I asked, is Steven's powers controlled by food? Because that's kind of like the first vibe you get off. Well, that's not what we find out in this episode. We actually do find out what controls his powers. And to get there first, they have to try and bring Steven back to Earth. And they put a boat on top of him, and
oh my God.
a bunch of other really weird stuff. And then Steven just thinks about... Well, he gets a little upset, and he starts thinking about, like, happy thoughts. And once he realizes that his emotions are what's controlling his power. And so he tries to think of all these different thoughts. And one of the thoughts he thinks about is, like, he's like, oh, I'll think of donuts. And he's like, no, because I know I'm not going to get to donuts in time. And he goes through something else. I can't remember what the other one was. And then his other thought was his mom. And he's like, no, those feelings are way too complicated. And I was like, they're just going to address that right now. But then he imagines what would happen if he's stuck up there forever, and he's like, and then I'll die. And then his bones, like, fall from the sky in his, like, little dream world. And I'm like, this show sometimes has some, like, super dark humor.
Yeah.
That was one of them. But he ends up dropping his phone, and his phone falls, like, freaking, I don't know, hundreds of feet to the ground and doesn't break. So whatever phone he has, we need in this world.
We need that.
I don't know what kind of freaking device protection he has, but it works.
Case?
Yeah, what phone case do you have, Steven? But Steven does end up controlling his emotions, and he thinks happy thoughts. He thinks about the crystal gems, and it allows him to come back down to Earth safely, more or less. He kind of face plants into the sand. but he makes it. Nothing breaks, and he's able to get his donut in time. So everything worked out. This was kind of it was a good episode because, like I said, to me, it finally solidified because it kind of, it had been hinting towards that since the first episode. Like, let me make that clear. Like, the very first episode, it was like, it must be food because he eats and he activates his gem, and it was really confusing. But in recent episodes, especially around Connie and him trying to protect her and stuff, he is able to activate his gem a lot more frequently. So I think that it was kind of hinting towards it was emotionally based, but now it's like confirmed. Boom. Next episode was Drop Beat Dad, which is about sour cream and his daddy issues. Number one, okay, so we discovered that his dad is Marty the manager from like quite a few episodes ago.
That's right.
Yeah,
I totally forgot about that.
He shows up, and that's the first time that we realized who his, because it's been said before that, I don't remember, Yellowtail's his name. I always call him Gordon Fishsticks guy, is his stepdad. And I had to send this to Isaac in Discord. I can't unsee Marty the manager as Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. Yeah. It's literally the same guy.
Just different skin color.
Yeah, it's the same guy. Marty kind of hints that he's going to help Sour Cream get his music career off, and Sour Cream thinks that's so cool, and we already know Marty's a piece of crap, so it was kind of just sort of waiting for what the twist is going to be into how he's going to be a piece of crap. Yeah, he ends up using his son's Sour Cream, that is. Marty uses Sour Cream's DJing event as a way to promote a new soda, and Sour Cream gets mad, and Marty's like, okay, whatever, like, pretty much they have this big falling out, which sounds like Marty's not really in his life anyways, because it had been like years and years since he'd seen him last. And before Marty leaves, he like had to give something to Greg Universe that he said he's legally obligated to give him, and it's an envelope. This is more or less a Beach City episode. Like, I'm just going to be upfront. It's kind of a filler in a way. It's really important for the next episode, which I think was huge for characters. I think they could have done it a little bit differently, because I don't really care about Sour Cream and Marty. But anyways, wrapping it up though, Sour Cream and his stepdad work out their issues, and he realizes that his stepdad does love him and care for him a lot, and he puts on a show. And then Greg Universe opens up the envelope, and it's a $10 million check, which leads us to Mr. Greg. So apparently Greg wrote a burger jingle, and he didn't write a burger jingle. He wrote a jingle, which Marty turned into a burger jingle, which he then sold to a burger company, which they have made a bunch of money off of that burger jingle. And Greg doesn't know what to do with his money, so there's some music and stuff, which we talked about. Like, I'm huge into the music. That's one thing I really, really loved about this episode. It was more or less musical. Yeah. I think they do such a good job conveying the scene and the emotions of the characters through the songwriting. Better than they do any other way. Like, the songwriting nails it. The whole show should have been a musical. Honestly, it would have been, like, even better if it was all musical. But Greg decides he's going to go to Empire City with Steven, and Steven invites Pearl along, and at this point, as viewers, we're very well aware of the tension between Pearl and Greg, and obviously Pearl's love for Rose and Greg's love for Rose, and I'm sure that's very complicated. And it is definitely very complicated, because Pearl sings this great song in that episode, which I think was just, it summed up her whole character, it seemed like. It's Over, isn't it? I don't know the actual name of the song, but yeah, I think they did such a good job with that song, and I think this was huge for Pearl. That we've been getting more and more into Pearl, and the more we get into Pearl, the more I respect her as a character. I'm not going to say that probably never going to say she's my favorite, just because that character type I usually don't like, but that doesn't mean she can't be a great, well-rounded character, and they've just been nailing it every time with her. And I feel like they've gone into Pearl more than anyone else.
Yeah, I feel that way too, at least this point in the series.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll change, because we're, like, maybe halfway through, if that. Yeah, I just love that song. I thought it was great, and Pearl and Greg kind of have this, are kind of forced more or less. And Steven even says, this was the first time where I was like, Steven is more aware now than I think he ever has been, because he said he knew there was something going on between the two of them, and they needed to figure it out, and that's why he invited Pearl on this trip. And he does kind of, I think that the tension will always kind of be there, because you can't just, Pearl obviously can't move on. Like, it's something she's struggling with, and Greg's obviously lost someone too, because he was in love with Rose as well. They're kind of finding that common ground, and they're finding the common love that they have for Steven, which is great. And the fact that Steven was so aware of their relationship that he was able to bring them together, I think it made me have a little bit more respect for Steven. But they spend all $10 million.
As you do.
As you do when you spend half a day in a city.
Yeah, I don't know how expensive Empire City is, but
yeah,
apparently
good
it's
lord.
really expensive.
Super spendy. So I did like that episode because, number one, I love music. I love the music for the show, and I love that it dove into Pearl and Greg and Steven and that whole very complicated dynamic.
Yeah, I think it grows all three characters together. I think it's moving them forward in the right direction.
Absolutely.
And not just staying stagnant like we have the past. The whole show, pretty much.
Well, I think Pearl has definitely changed a lot since the beginning. Obviously, my opinion on Pearl's changed, but I think that the way that they have developed her has changed a lot too. From the very first beginning, the first time we see her until now, I think she's a different character. I think she's more well-rounded. I think Greg they've kind of gone into, but he's still Greg at the end of the day. And this is one of the few times I think I've seen Steven really step up in an impactful way. The three of them working together and being closer is only going to be better for everybody in the show.
Yeah, because he essentially is Rose Quartz, pretty much.
Right? Yeah.
Steven is his mom.
Yeah, so I did really love that episode. That 100% is my favorite episode in this batch, without a doubt. So, best of the 8. Boom. The next episode is Too Short to Ride, which is really all about Peridot again. So Steven, Amethyst, and Peridot go to Funland, and they try to get onto this ride, but they're too short. So Amethyst and Steven shapeshift and just grow their legs up. And Peridot can't shapeshift. So the whole episode is really about Peridot kind of being insecure about her powers. And Peridot is, I compared her to a feral cat before. I stand by that. She's a feral cat. She's also the child of the group.
Yeah.
She's very childlike because I think this is her first time. Well, it is. It's not, I think. This just is. She's outside of the Gem Collective, more or less. She's broke free from the Borg.
Literally.
And now she's having to, she's like a child to the universe because there's no structure anymore, and she's forced to do things differently and discover new things. And for her, I think it's very difficult. She doesn't really have a personality because her entire personality has been being a servant in the Gem Collective, more or less, because it seems like that's just their culture. That's their whole society. It's about servitude.
Yeah.
Serving the diamonds. So it's trash.
Yeah.
So the Gem Collective, the Gem Society is trash. And that's kind of what she's starting to learn. She's kind of starting to learn that, how to be her own person, and she does have a power. Mental bending? She can make things float. More or less. Well, it starts with her. The tablet gets thrown because she's attached to the tablet, and she's like, "That's who I am. I'm a tablet." And then she doesn't want it to get ruined. So this episode didn't really move the plot forward, but I think it showed us the dynamic between these three characters. It showed us more about Peridot. And like I said, I expected there to be a lot more Peridot now that she's part of it, because we've already had plenty of episodes to talk about these other characters and see these other characters do different things. It's Peridot's turn. And I expect that anytime a new character is introduced, so I can't be mad that I didn't feel like it progressed the plot necessarily, because I think it was important for us to get this moment with Peridot and kind of see who she is under pressure and all that fun stuff. So, this is an alright episode. The new Lars. So Lars is just an asshole, apparently. Just on a regular basis, he's just an asshole to people because he thinks that's cool, I guess. I don't know. I don't understand. I
don't know what Sadie sees in him.
I don't either. Well, and she says something about how in public and in person he's a totally different person. And this episode, Steven... So Sadie it starts with Sadie asking Lars if he wants to come over and watch a movie, and he says, "No, that's dumb, I'm gonna go see what Buck's doing." Okay, we get it, you love Buck, whatever. Yeah. And Steven doesn't understand, but he goes to sleep, and while he's dreaming, he jumps into Lars's body, and he wakes up, and he is Lars. And so he thinks that, because he ships Lars and Sadie, I think it's because he's so close with Sadie. Sadie's really seems like has been one of his most solid friends.
I think it's because Steven's a shipper.
Steven, yeah, he would be, wouldn't he? He seems like the romantic type.
Yeah.
Not he seems like he is. He cries over sappy movies and stuff. He as Lars, he's very Steven. He's very polite to Lars' parents and to the cool kids. He dances, and they're like, "You're so cool." Wow, I like the new Lars. That's kind of how they see it. Which obviously, like, the cool kids don't really seem to like Lars that much because he is a jerk, but they like Steven because Steven's, like, a cool little dude who's, like, open and honest and cool. But anyways, he goes to Sadie's house as Lars, and they watch a movie together, and they have a conversation after the end of the movie, and I think this is kind of the first look into their actual relationship, because before I was like, I don't think there is anything, but then she starts saying, she's like, there's a lot of back and forth between us. And I'm like, okay, so this isn't like something like she's like pining for him from a distance. Like there's something going on, and it's almost like he's not comfortable having that be open in public. Maybe he just thinks that it's not cool. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get Lars yet.
Yeah.
But anyways, and of course it screws everything up and complicates a lot of things. But at the end of the day, Lars invites Sadie over to his house, so everything's all hunky-dory between the two of them. But not really. It's just not healthy.
It really isn't.
It's not a healthy relationship. And the next episode is Beach City Drift.
I don't see any notes for that episode.
I didn't take any notes. It literally just says Beach City Drift, and then there's nothing. There's some, like, seeped through marker from the other side. So obviously, this was a shout out to Initial D, one of my favorite animes of all time. I fucking love Initial D. I've seen it like 100 times. I've read the manga. I've seen the live action movie. Love Initial D. It's so much fun. I grew up in a hilly area. My brother had an RX-7 FD. I love it. So cool. This episode was not so cool.
Oh no.
If you've seen Initial D, you're going to recognize right away the Initial D aspects of it. Very clearly. It's obvious. But more or less, Kevin's a jerk, and Stevani wants to show Kevin what's up, so they decide to race him. And there actually wasn't enough drifting. Like, for something that's like a shout-out to Initial D, they drove on a really straight road.
Yeah.
I think they drifted, like, twice. So I don't know where the production team went for location scouting, but you could have came to where I grew up, and I would have showed you some drifty-ass motherfucking turny up and down hills. But, I didn't take any notes because it was filler, and to me it was pointless. I'm not sure what it developed. Maybe I was supposed to get something about Steven and Connie's relationship, and Stevani as a character. Maybe they just wanted to make an Initial D episode, which is understandable, just like they obviously wanted to make a baseball episode. And they wanted to make a Lars and Sadie episode, so they made it. Did I miss something in this episode?
I don't think so. I mean, you got the homage, whatever, to Initial D. So that's pretty much, I feel like, all it was.
Fair enough. That's cool. I mean, I can't be mad about that. I can't be mad about someone wanting to, like, give a shout out to a show they really love.
Yeah.
And it's okay with this batch of episodes because this batch of episodes was a little bit more laid back, you know. Mm-hmm. My big thing that has been with each batch of episodes is that either there's the filler comes at really awkward times, even though they want to say there's no filler. This one, it felt it just felt very consistent all the way through, which was nice. I think that the production team now, they're starting to figure out the exact tone they want for the show, and the pacing that they want, the tempo and everything. And it's working out much better to where episodes like the new Lars and Beach City Drift, I don't really take much notes for them because, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot for me to take notes on. I do want to say that I loved the scene where they were, when Stevani was driving and they were on the mountain and they could look over and see the beach and the scene and everything. I really loved that. It kind of took me back to like a 1990s video game almost, like kind of the way it was set up. So, I mean, I can still at least appreciate that part of the show, even if it's not moving the story along. And episodes like Mr. Greg, which didn't necessarily move the plot, but it advanced the characters so much and did so much development for the characters that I can't even be mad. And it had music. Perfect. Can't even be mad. So yeah, I think I'm starting to get used to it now that they have... Not get used to it. I've already been used to it, but... The tone is more consistent, and it doesn't feel as... I'm not as impatient for the story to move along as I used to be.
Yeah.
And I know the characters better now. So I bet if I go back and I watch those other filler episodes and started the... I bet when I finish the show, if I go back and watch it a second time, I'll appreciate those episodes more, because I'm like, I already get this character, now it's more insight into who they are, compared to where right now, it's like... Well, not right now, but the first time through those beginning episodes, I was like, I just want to know what's going on. So, anyways, yeah, that's my 8 episodes of Steven Universe. It was fun. It was a fun little couple hours to sit down in front of the TV and watch some Saturday morning cartoons.
Now on to, my most favorite episodes.
Mine
I keep
too.
saying that every week.
No. It just gets better and better. Yeah. I really do. These 4 episodes of Haikyuu, though, really are some of the best 4 episodes of the show.
They truly are. After watching these 4, I can honestly say I love this show. It sounds cringy, but like goosebumps galore. I just want to preface this whole thing. So episode 17, the fight of the spineless, starts out with obviously from what happened in episode 16, the end of it. Daichi's kind of
rest in peace, Dad.
Yeah, we don't know what happened to him, if he's unconscious. Well, he's not unconscious. Like, he's still, they're like, what stadium are you at? He's like, Sendai, whatever.
Yeah, he hasn't been knocked silly.
Yeah, like, he's still aware. He has, like, blood and a tooth out, and, like, a bruise, but I don't think he's, like, too bad. And they're like, oh, my God, you must have a concussion. And I think there's a really funny part where Kyoko's just, like, trying to see what's happening, and he keeps turning around to, like, talk to other people. But I'm glad that he's not horribly hurt to where he can't play.
Yeah, I mean, he could have died.
Yeah,
like, I don't think people watching this realize how serious a neck and head injury can be.
I mean, it looked like he more or less broke his neck or something.
Yeah.
But then we get a really cool moment with him and the whole team. And they're not really sad about it. They kind of know that it's coming, and they know that they need another captain. They need someone to take Daichi's place when he can't anymore, which is this is his last year, so it's coming up. There's a really cool quote where he walks up to Aussie and he's like, I'm sorry, Aussie, I'll be right back, but until I get here, it's up to you. And then Aussie says, don't worry, we'll be fine. And then the music starts to play, and I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Like, at this point, I had no idea, and then all of a sudden, they're like, Inoshida. I'm like, crap. I don't think I've ever seen Inoshida play.
Well, and I think a lot of people were thinking that, and I think Oikawa and Iwaizumi are watching this, and they even think, well, are they just going to send in the vice captain? Because Sugawara is the vice captain. That would be kind of your instinct. And then, no, they send in someone that we've never
even seen play.
Yeah, I mean, aside from some practice, like a practice game and some training and stuff, he's never been in an official match, so...
Which is nerve-wracking going into it. So he's substituted from Daichi's place. I think it's a good choice, though, because he's just as calm and sort of stoic as Daichi. I mean, he has his issues, and he's very nervous because this is his first official match. But I think for his circumstance, like, this is the calmest I've ever seen anyone in their first match.
Yeah, he handles it with grace. He really does. Yeah,
he's like a trooper in this. So I was a little less worried, and I was excited to see what was going to happen. Right off the bat, he's just like a natural leader. He's like telling people, you go this way, you go that way, I'll come up from behind, or something like that. And it's just like, you see the whole dynamic already playing out. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wow, this guy is a captain. Like, there's a reason they wanted him as the runner-up captain. One thing that Haikyuu does really good is backstory and knowing when to insert it.
I'm going to say one thing about that, because I was thinking about it, because I rewatched these episodes, too, this morning, so kind of, like, remember exactly what episodes they were, because this whole season, to me, is just, like, from the moment the tournament starts on, is, like, to me, one sit-through. So, a lot of people complained about the placement of Inoshida's flashback. So it's right in the middle of the episode, and it's not one flashback, it's a flashback with the flashback inside of the flashback.
Yeah, it was kind of confusing, but...
and a lot of people were like, man, it's right in the middle of this important match, like, why would you do that? I loved it. Because
it built that suspense.
Before it goes into it, you have him screaming, let's go!
Yeah.
And I've said it a million times, his English voice actor is 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
And these episodes proved it. And then it goes into that flashback, because you're like, why is this guy so pumped? And it goes into the flashback about, well, you can tell it because you watched it. So go, it's yours.
Just the most relatable character.
Absolutely.
So the flashback is basically, he's practicing for Karasuno, and the coach is basically telling him, like, you're not good enough, basically. Like, keep trying, whatever.
Yeah, Coach Yukai made them work really, really hard. Yeah. Old Coach Yukai.
And he was not having it. He did not like the constant nagging, which, I mean,
Who does?
Who does? Yeah. So he ends up running away, quote unquote, staying home. And while that's happening, he's like rethinking in his head, does he really want to do this? Like, he needs that team, the team needs him type of thing. He wants to be on this team. So then he finally shows back up because he realizes, like, this is his passion. Then I believe it's Naruto and Kinoshita. They show up with him, which I needed those two. I needed their backstory sort of too. So I like how they threw that in with Inoshita. I think they're all second years.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I got the same feeling I did for the third years altogether as I do now with the second years. Like, I get that feeling now. Mm-hmm. He just keeps on trying in that flashback.
Yeah, he says something along the lines of, as painful as practice was for volleyball, that time without volleyball was even more painful. And I think as anyone with a passion, like, you get it.
You know, that hits so deeply at the core of your being.
Absolutely. Like, we all want to be lazy and stay home in the air conditioning and eat ice cream and read comics, but there's no sense of satisfaction from that, the way there is from struggling and succeeding. And I love that's his entire character arc. I love it.
Yeah. Which is interesting because we haven't really seen any character arc or character type that's like that. I think all these characters, more or less, on CrossNote are all striving for greatness. But his is in more of a, like, it's an innate thing for him. Mm-hmm. He has to do it. Whereas these people have, like, a specific force or, like, drive. I don't know.
No, that makes sense, yeah.
They're doing all right with Inoshita in the game. But then Suki is out, so they're like, Tadashi, your turn. I had to, like, pause it and pray. Like, I literally was like, I paused it and I was like, you know what? Let me go get some nachos. So I came back and sure enough, he serves it. And they do such a good job. Okay, so again, inserting flashbacks. They play that flashback of the Ioba Josai game in Season 1 with Tadashi serving, and you think the same thing's going to happen. It doesn't. Almost does. It goes over the net just barely, which is good for them, but not good for Tadashi's character.
Yeah, it kind of scared him.
Yeah.
Like, he saw his fears becoming a reality again.
Which is a big thing he needs to get over.
He needs to get over his volleyball trauma.
Yeah. And then he finally, he doesn't know whether to go for a jump serve in the next serve. So when he's, like, serving up the ball, he just kind of, like, regular serves it, like, no real force to it, just your average serve. And it's because all this pressure on him, like, I think he is the character out of any character on CrossNote, he is the most, like, under pressure, like, the worst under pressure.
Yeah.
He can't deal with all of the weight on his shoulders.
Well, and it's interesting because you see the difference between him and Inoshita in that episode. You know, Inoshita, he has not just the pressure of coming into a game for a single serve, like, he has to come in and take Daichi's spot. And he has to do it in a way that seems seamless to the rest of the team. And Daichi is a phenomenal captain and a great volleyball. Well, not great, like he's going to go become professional, but in terms of high school volleyball, he's pretty freaking good at what he's doing. And he handles it outwardly. Even inside, he has this... What I love about Inoshita is... as Isaac was getting close to these episodes, I was like, I freaking love Inoshita. He's one of my favorite characters. And he's like, why? They're like, you have to watch these episodes.
Yeah, I was like, I don't see it.
One of the things that he says is that he can't make excuses. He goes and he's like, I'm not Daichi, I'm not as good as Daichi. And then he sits there and he goes, inside his own head, he's like, but I'm the one who's out here playing now. I'm the one on the court. I'm not going to make any excuses. I'm going to do good, period. And that is such a positive mental attitude to have compared to Tadashi, who doesn't have the ability to go out there and say, I'm out here, I'm going to succeed. There are no excuses. He just gets inside his own worrisome headspace, and he isn't able to execute.
Yeah. But one thing I really love about those two being on the court at the same time is Tadashi is looking at Inoshita and understands that Inoshita is that way. He's not taking no for an answer. So Tadashi's thinking to himself, like, why can't I be like that?
Yeah.
And I think it's helping him grow in that aspect.
Definitely.
Even when he's, like, out for serving, he's still constantly watching Inoshita and how he's reacting and how he's playing in the team.
Well, and I think it was nice too when Coach Yukai came running up on Tadashi, the person who defended him before Yukai could even really go off. Inoshida puts himself, like true captain move, put himself between him and said he knows. Because Inoshida knows. Because Inoshida ran away when he was a first year. And Tadashi...
Oh, goosebumps.
Yeah, exactly. And Tadashi just ran away, in a sense.
Yeah.
And so he was very happy to defend Tadashi in that moment, because he knows that the mental anguish that Tadashi has from that moment, he's either going to flounder and never ever be able to serve volleyball again, or he's going to grow and he's going to become a future captain. Inoshida knows that because he just went through it himself. So
what an amazing guy. Like, I don't know what else to say about him. He's just one of the best players, I feel like. This whole game at this point, like this whole match,
it's intense. It's the first time you really, all season long, where you're really feeling kind of nervous for Karasa now.
Yeah, I haven't gotten this feeling since the Ioba Josai season 1 match.
Yeah.
Going into episode 18, it's called The Losers. Now, from the thumbnail that they showed me, it showed Inoshida like going for a ball, and I was like, oh no, are they gonna make it? They have to. There's like more episodes after this. So right off the bat, I was scared for Inoshida. They're at the beginning of this episode, they're falling apart.
Yeah.
They truly are just like, they're falling apart, and this is not the time to do it. They slowly start to get back into the groove of things, but that's not, like, I think Wakatani South gets like 5 points on them, and they're finally like, okay, we need to do something right now, or else we're not going to make it further in the tournament. I didn't know a game could be so suspenseful. Like, the suspense building in this show, in this specific game, like, even higher than, I feel like, I keep saying it, referencing it, Ioba Josai season 1.
Yeah. Because
you feel that pressure, and you feel like, Daichi's not there. It's Inoshida's part. Like, he has to do his part for the team, and the team's falling apart. All this stuff. So finally, Inoshida has found his groove in the team. I think he's gotten a good layout of how to be a captain.
He just had to. Anyone who's played sports and that's had to come off a bench for a game gets it. It's like you feel so. Even though you're part of the team and you're watching from the bench, you don't really feel like you're part of the game until you get in there and you really get involved. And Inoshida had that great moment where he came up with a way to stop Wakatani South, and it worked.
Yeah.
And, of course, then Nishinoya has the nice receive, which just, I'm sure his confidence level went all the way to 100 at that point, you know? That's
what, I think Yukai was talking to Takada, and he's like, that's exactly what that kid needed. Mm-hmm. He needed this moment.
Absolutely.
And then there's a part where Suki walks up to Kageyama, and he's like, hey, you're going to need to serve to Hinata this game. And
Yukai wanted him to set to Asahi.
That's
Consolidate sets to Asahi, I think was the exact wordage.
Yeah. And Kageyama's like, I'm not going to do that in his head. So he instantly sets it back, not at Asahi. So Kageyama serves to another player, and it ends up getting them another point, like, instantly. And I think this shows how smart Kageyama is. I think he's, like, smarter than Yukai at this point.
Yeah, Kageyama's a prodigy.
Literally. One of the main things in this match, not just Inoshida being in the game, that I really liked was this whole trying to be the tiny giant from Takaru on Wakatani South and Hinata on Karasuno. They have this really cool drive against each other. Mm-hmm. It's competition.
Very, like a little, friendly rivalry, more or less, you know?
Yeah, and they're both, like, saying across the court or in their heads, like, I'm more of a tiny giant than you are. And I think with each game, Hinata gets closer to becoming the tiny giant, or his dreams get closer to that. They end up beating Wakatani South. I'm literally blown away at this game. Like, how the hell did they do that? I think there's a part where Inoshida gets, like, one of the winning points, and he goes all the way back to get a ball, and he what is that called?
Oh, the backwards receive, the backwards diving receive,
and they're all like, holy shit, and then then they set the ball up again and then get that point, and it's like, wow. And then it just puts it in perspective how hard volleyball really is to play.
Yeah,
like,
it's
you
not
think
easy.
about that, you put that into real world terms, like, crazy. Daichi's finally back. He's doing all right. But Sugawara punches him in the stomach multiple times, and then Daichi's like, oh.
Daichi gets punched in the stomach a lot.
Yeah. I never realized how much Sugawara hits people.
He's kind of violent.
And he's just like hack. So the team's all celebrating. They're like, yeah, I wonder who we're gonna play next. And then they all leave the gym for a second. It goes to Enoshita in the bathroom.
I love that scene. His voice actor, that was the moment. Like, I already really loved what his English voice actor did for those set of episodes, but that monologue was too real. Like, he tapped into something deep within himself.
Yeah. I feel like he did it in one take, too. Like, it was so genuine sounding.
Well, that's... all of his lines are so genuine sounding, and I think that's one of the things why I kept praising his dub actor, was because the way he talks and the way that the tempo in his sentences change and the way he kind of will almost trip over words or kind of hold a syllable for a word a little bit longer, like his brain's kind of thinking of the next word, is the real. Like, it's the realest, some of the realest dubbing I've ever heard in my life, and I've watched a lot of anime dubs, but that scene in the bathroom is too good. And it doesn't matter what language it's in, it's good, but shout out to his English voice actor for sure.
Yeah, so he should be celebrating, but he's so negative on himself in this bathroom scene.
Yeah, I love how he talks about how, and I think anyone that's had the thrill of performance, whether it's sports or stage or whatever, or music, they get his feeling of like, he talks about how bad he played. He's like, only half of my spikes made it. I was only able to dig the ball out. My receivers are only good at the last half of the game. But then he talks about how, he's like, I should be happy we won, but I'm just happy that it's over.
Yeah.
And that feeling, that like the anxiety leaving his body, and he calls himself a coward, and it's like, man, you're not a coward though. Like, you faced all, like, you.
I know, it's like, don't be so hard on yourself. You're amazing.
Yeah. And then Tadashi has a moment too. I love this.
Yeah.
He's like, guys, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. He's taking going to the bathroom real seriously.
Yeah, he just says that of all people.
And then Kagami was probably gotta take a shit.
Yeah. They're all on the stairwell just saying this stuff, and Yachi's just standing there like, okay. And it was like right after the Enoshita scene. So it was kind of what everyone needed.
Yeah.
So then going into episode 19, it's called The Iron Wall Can Be Constructed Any Number of Times.
Oh, I hate Kanagawa's hair. Just want to throw that out there.
Oh my god, me too.
It's so dumb. Like, every other character has great realistic looking hair, and then anime hair shows up with Kanagawa.
His name's Anime Hair to me. So Kurasno watches the Date Tech game against Ioba Josai to see who they're going to play next. Because, wouldn't you want to see?
Yeah. It'd be kind of nice to know.
Yeah. So number 7, Anime Hair. He just gives me right off the bat secondhand embarrassment. He keeps trying to do these setter dunks. And they keep saying he's amazing. And he keeps trying to do setter dunks, and it just isn't working out. And
it's interesting because we're so used to, like, Kageyama or Oikawa or, Kenma. Like, when we think of setters, we think of, like, smart,
calculated,
like, high volleyball IQ type people. And then instead we get this oof.
Oof.
It's oof.
A big Roblox oof of a character right there. And I instantly in my notes, I was like, never mind. The Iron Wall is freaking strong. The imagery you get right there when No Brows, I still don't know his name. No Brows, and then the other player, and then Anime Hair.
Like this is how you recognize. You're like, so who's on Date Tech? You're like, No
Yellow,
Brows,
Anime
Other Guy,
Hair.
Anime Hair.
Yeah.
Other Guy.
Other Guy number 3. So I think it's, I forget who's trying to spike the ball. It might be a Wizami. I think it's someone else on Ioba Josai, but they're trying to spike the ball against Date Tech. And one thing we know about Date Tech in the past is their defense is freaking strong.
Yeah.
Just from No Brows alone. So he puts up a wall, and then the other guy...
Which one's the other guy? The Anime Hair?
Kenji?
Kenji? Yeah.
Yeah, he puts up a wall, and they combine, which amazing sequence of imagery. And then Anime Hair... I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
So he comes in, and there's 3 walls now. There's 3 parts to this wall. That's a 3-person block, and they're all super tall, super strong people. And sure enough, they block the hit against Ioba Josai. It was actually like that scene. I was like, I don't know who's gonna win. Like it could be Date Tech.
Yeah.
And that's finally when I looked at their setter and I was like, maybe he's not bad. Now I see why they all like him. But it was not looking good for him for a second. And then Daichi's like, oh, pain in the ass. His reaction to Oikawa's setter dunk, that's exactly the feeling I get whenever he setter dunks. That's like Daichi, I felt his pain right there. And then Oikawa says something to Waizumi, Waizumi is instantly just not having it. And he says a few things, and then Oikawa's like scouring in the corner of the court. I'm like, okay.
I mean, to be fair, Waizumi is like physically abusive to
Oikawa. Literally. All of a sudden, the iron wall goes up again, but sure enough, they set the ball to a Waizumi. A really cool sequence. He freaking breaks through the iron wall.
Yep.
Holy crap, how?
Well, that's the thing is, a Waizumi, they don't, like, the fans accept it, but they don't really talk about it much in the show. He's strong. Like, he's, okay, Ushijima's the strongest. Waizumi's not far behind. Like, he's
really not.
Yeah.
He broke through the iron wall.
Yeah. Like 3 of effortlessly.
Them. Yeah.
Like, that shit, like, destroyed Asahi. And Waizumi mentally and physically, it's, like... Yeah, nothing to him.
They pan to Krasno at the third years, I think, and Asahi's there, and they all have that like anime like small eyes, like they're scared, because they know that's what they're gonna play against. Mm-hmm. So finally, Aoba Josai wins, and Krasno realizes they're gonna play against them again, and it sets in for them, but they're not scared that much. This time around.
They've been through so much hell in the training camp and everything.
I feel like Date Tech will definitely be a team to beat next year, though.
Do you want me to spoil it for you?
No, don't spoil it for me. No. But if they keep the same people and they expand on it and practice, like, amazing team. Last season's Aoba Josai flashback is getting me hyped for the next game. Like, more than any other. See, that's what I mean by flashbacks. Like, perfect. And then Yachi encourages Tadashi to freak out when he's nervous and ask if he needs a defibrillator. And apparently Jackie said the next scene she comes in with
You can see her. There's a defibrillator there. She's holding a defibrillator.
Yachi and Tadashi.
Great chemistry.
Great. Awesome. So then going into episode 20, this is the first game, season 2, Aoba Josai game against Krasno.
Yep.
It's called Wiping Away. So, the nerves, if they hadn't set in already, like, my whole body's just like goosebumps at this point. The instant the ball grab between Oikawa and Kageyama.
I love that scene. The beginning of that episode is full of so many funny scenes.
It helped me calm down.
Yeah.
Like, it's just perfect.
And then Oikawa, like, T-poses over him. And Maki's like, can you believe that guy's a third year in high school?
He acts like a friggin' 8th grader.
He does.
Oh yeah, and then there's this really, really funny scene where right before they start the game, the captains go up and they grab the ball. Yeah, I think they grab the ball.
No, they grab it's a handshake.
A handshake, yeah. And Oikawa and Daichi are handshaking, and I forget what he says. He says something along the lines of, like, you've grown or something like that. And Daichi's like, well, I mean, the training camp really did it for me. And there's, like, a small flashback to Kuro and Bokuto being cringy. And you just really feel bad for what Daichi had to go through. It was kind of like a silent struggle for him, because you didn't realize until that moment. And then Kyoko saves Yachi. In the most badass way.
The thing with Yahaba?
Yeah. Her hand's like, boom. And they're all like, oh my god, she can block.
That whole scene is the fact that he rolled the volleyball over there thinking that was the best way to get her attention, first of all.
Yahaba just needs to stop trying.
Yahaba is...
a whole other level.
That's a whole other conversation. You'll see more Yahaba. You'll see more Yahaba than you've seen in the next couple episodes, so... Imagery.
CROWS' broken wings are now healed. Goes back to the garbage dump. There's a few wings missing, but... Or a few wings. There's just a wingless bird.
So morbid.
Blood everywhere. Few feathers missing, but there's a bird on top of a garbage dump, and the sun is right behind it. And it's just all the imagery you need before this game.
Yeah,
perfect.
Absolutely.
And then this quote I'm about to say is actually something that Jackie wrote on my board in my room. It's from Yukai. It says, "Be more than they expect you to be."
I love that quote.
I'm getting goosebumps.
Like, how hype is that?
That's the most hype I think I felt in, like, from a character saying something, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does.
And then Nishinoya and Asi have been working on their own quick attack.
Mm-hmm.
That was awesome.
It was cool to see it actually work.
Yeah. Because I think from the first games or matches in the tournament, they're still trying to get their groove. So it's nice to see that for the Ioba Josai game, they are, like, prepared.
They're ready. Like, everyone's at peak form.
Everyone, yeah. Hinata gets revenge with his new super quick attack. I said, "Get fucked, Seijo." Literally have that in my notes. Yeah. It's just awesome to see Hinata finally get that quick attack. And again, flashbacks. You can't have this game without the flashback from season 1.
Yeah, there's so much baggage attached to that first match that they had against them in the previous tournament.
And Kageyama, it's even happening to him too at the same time. It goes back to that point where he's on the floor, just defeated.
Yeah.
And when Hinata goes up and hits that ball, he's having the same type of thing where he's blocked. But he's not now. So I think this is what Kageyama and Hinata, specifically for their dynamic, their quick attack, this is what they needed.
Yeah, the way that Suga, Asahi, and Nishinoya needed to defeat Date Tech in the first season.
This is their
them.
moment.
Yeah, exactly.
But Seijo's counter strikes are scaring me. Really hardcore. This is the moment where, I mean, the game's already neck and neck. But this is the part where the game is kind of like in Seijo's favor a little bit. I'm getting Bokuto vibes from Oikawa right now. He tried so hard and didn't get so far. He tries to serve the ball and it doesn't go over. It hits the net.
Yeah, well, like we were talking about, Kageyama has the same thing in his serve, and we were talking about this before we recorded the podcast about how it kind of goes to show that as good as these two teams are, like, volleyball is a sport where, I mean, the littlest things can make a really good player mess up a serve, because there's so many messed up serves and messed up spikes, and it kind of gives you the feeling that, I don't know, it's for the first time, like, Seijo, like, we know they're a really good team, we know they're the team to beat right now, but you see the more human element in this first little episode, because you're seeing the mistakes that, especially like the third years, are making a bunch of mistakes. So
yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with already having to play all the teams they did before them.
Yeah, both teams, both Karasuno and Ioba Josai, they're probably getting kind of tired.
Yeah, and I don't remember there being I know there was a break before the Date Tech Karasuno game for Ioba Josai, but I don't think. Was it the same day?
This season?
Yeah, like literally.
No, it's the same. This is all one day.
What?
Yeah. From the beginning of Josenshi's game until the end of the season is one day.
That is insane to me.
Yeah.
And then they substitute Mad Dog.
Yeah.
Kill me. I was waiting for it. I knew it was going to happen.
First of all, his hair. Why? Who goes to the barber and is like, make me look like a tennis ball?
Give me 2 black lines around my blonde hair. But this is the moment where Oikawa was like, the tables have turned. We're bringing in someone. Our special, their own kind of, not quick attack, but
their own
attack.
secret weapon.
Secret weapon, yeah, exactly. The music right off the bat, it's like hard, like rock. And you're like, oh no, what's going to happen? And then, sure enough, they end up getting to the deuce because Mad Dog freaking... Okay, I think there's this scene, Oikawa is like telling the team what to do, and Mad Dog doesn't listen. He just takes the ball anyways and spikes it and gets them to the deuce. So that scene right there, I think I realized who was the real alpha. I think Oikawa was still kind of the alpha because he knew that Mad Dog was going to do that. But yeah, the animation.
Yeah, we've talked about
phenomenal.
This before. Oh, and we love the way that they... Haikyuu is the only show that can pull this off, it feels like. It has this one type of animation, and then when someone comes in and they're disruptive and intense and they're moving fast, it's like brush strokes. Like someone literally took a like old school like silk painting style.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, it's not jarring. Like it feels like it makes sense.
And you still get that chaotic feeling.
Yeah.
That is Mad Dog's freaking Spike.
Well, yeah, he like who was it that he shoved out of the way?
I just know he like freaking shoves everyone to the side.
Like jumps up midair and like freaking yeets the other spiker out of the way. Yeah, he's crazy.
I forgot to mention too, in the game against Ayaba Josai and Date Tech in the previous episode, the animation of the Iron Wall when they all three go up on Date Tech's side.
Yeah.
I love, like, I don't know how they can draw hands that way, like, and just the foreshortening and the animation, it's like perfect.
Yep.
And even the eyes like look alien because the camera's getting closer. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and then the music right after that, like rock. It's like jazz, but it's kind of like chaotic jazz.
Yeah, it's like a really intense saxophone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like someone's working hardcore. And at this moment, after he spikes it, Takeda is saying, he's bringing up the gears.
Yeah, it came
all
back.
the way back from the practice games. And it's like all the gears are working, and the imagery of this like kind of rusty, jagged gear gets placed into there. And he says it kind of messes things up a little bit.
Everything kind of grinds to a halt. Yeah.
Man. These episodes.
So good, right?
So good.
So good.
I wish the first part of season 1 was like this, because if it was, I would have loved it from the very beginning.
Well, I think it's the same thing with, I think the way you had to learn with IQ, and I'm learning with Steven Universe, I think it's similar. I don't think you can have these episodes and have them without there's no way you could start the series off with a no shit story and you would give a crap.
Yeah.
There's no way.
That's so true though.
Like you'd be like, this is way too intense. Like you need the slow build up and you need to slowly add in the characters and stuff, and now you know why I love the show so much, I think.
Yeah. And now I know why you love Inoshida finally.
Yeah, you're like, I don't get it. Why do you like this character so much? I'm like, you just gotta see those episodes, man.
Well, you were like, this is why I love him in the season 1 Aoba Josai game, because he was giving Kageyama really good advice. You know? Like he did help Kageyama character like development, but that was it. And I was like, I don't really see much in this guy. And then sure enough, these episodes come out, and it's like he's just a leader.
Yeah, he's a natural leader. One more episode and then you're done with season 2 and it's on to season 3, and I will be, I think, going into season 4 of Steven Universe around that time.
Yeah.
So how exciting is that?
That's right crazy. Yeah. We're like kicking this
We're
out.
flying through these shows and we're liking them, so that's good. We're being entertained. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully you guys are watching along and you're entertained as well, and you can let us know what you think of these shows and how you feel about Beach City Drift.
Beach City Drift. We went two completely opposite directions.
Yeah, my name is Jackie, and I've been watching Steven Universe.
And my name's Isaac, and I've been watching Haikyuu.
And we'll see you guys next Saturday.
Bye.
Hey guys, it's Jackie.
And Isaac.
From Nonessential Media.
We just want to thank you guys so much for listening, and if you'd like, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel or our Patreon.
And we want to hear from you guys. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you're watching along with us and what your thoughts are.
You can find us on Twitter at Nonessential.
We're on Facebook as Nonessential Media.
We're also on Instagram at Nonessential Media.
Check out our website, nonessentialmedia.com.
So check us out.
Thanks again for listening. We truly appreciate every single one of you.
See you guys next Saturday for a new episode of Beach City CROWS. Bye. Skibbly babbly bab.